Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. Hey guys, how you going? I wanted to share a few things with you today that I think I really want you to know about them. I've been cleaning up my office and I've come across a few journals and notepads that I've kept in the last 4 to 5 years, and in that time I've been doing a lot of learning, a lot of reflection, a lot of reading, some therapy, all sorts of bits and pieces, and self-directed learning as well that I've done. And you know, sometimes if in your life I've found that when you're wanting to change something, when you're in a stage of growth, one or two things happens. You don't know where to start, or you are a bit like me and you've read this book, then you move on to this book, then you read this journal or this podcast, or you listen to a podcast, then you read something on the internet, and then it's kind of, you almost get confused and information overload. And some days you just want things that are easy to take in, something that's a little bit interesting. And so on today's episode, I thought I'd share with you some of my findings that I've been reflecting back and looking at, little bits that really changed my life and really just changed on how my brain worked and what I thought of things, and some of the stuff you may already know, which is great, and some of the stuff it's sometimes I find reviewing stuff, I see things in different ways. So yeah, today's episode's a little bit different, and if you do hear snoring in the background, that's my little lovely self-care ambassador Maisie, and she's right next to me while I'm recording this podcast. So if you do hear some snoring, it's not me, it's my Maisie. So let's dive in today's episode. And the first thing I wanted to share with you is you are not what you think. And there's a lot of power in that, because if you change your thinking, everything can just be so different. And I just found that your personality creates your personal reality. How you think, how you act, and how you feel. And I just found that really powerful. And your negative thoughts, I was in a mindset not too long ago where I would just think negatively pretty much all the time. And I'd really force myself to think, no, you're being silly, Barbara. You're the only one in the world that kind of thinks like this. And, I thought it was up to my, down to my upbringing, a lot of it was. And I just really pushed on through and ignored it, and it just got louder and louder. And these negative thoughts could be anything to do with what I was doing that day, what I'm eating or what I'm wearing, or what I was working on, or my job, or it could have just been anything. And it was just getting to the point where I was just like, for goodness sake, these voices. Look, I'm not crazy, but those thoughts and those voices that we all have in our head, it was just really negative. And I was like, this is not me. This is not how I'm built. I really am not enjoying this. So I don't know right now, if you're listening to this podcast, if you find that as you go through your day, you have a lot of negative thoughts, and you kind of have to be you kind of catch yourself doing it. You're thinking, oh my gosh, why am I thinking like this? It's not really nice. And I'll go through, I'll share with you why in a minute. And that was one of the turning points in my life when I found a few things, what I'm going to share with you a bit later on in this podcast. It really just opened my eyes, and I was like, oh my gosh, it just makes total sense. And again, like I say in a lot of these podcasts, this stuff isn't rocket science. Just for me, it was just learning all this new stuff. And I was just like, wow, this all just makes sense. So negative thoughts, what they do in our brain is they turn on our flight or fight response. And that's kind of, can be a lot of things can happen in our body when we get to that point. And that was one thing. And through everything in life, we all go through different seasons and different stages. And I mean, right now, you may be in a place where you want to change things, or you're just really not happy with a certain something or just what's happening in your life. And I want to just share with you that I see you, and I know it takes courage and consistency and a willingness not to give up. Believe me, I really know what that's like. And we all have bad days sometimes. This is why I've got this podcast too. It's just a place to come to when you feel lost or just want to pick up, another self-care something. But we're really hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Isn't that interesting? I'll say that again. We are hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Oh, I was really good at that one stage in my life. And when we're self-aware, we can change things. When we're self-aware, when we're aware of something, we can do something about it. But a lot of us live our lives in this autopilot. We're always rushing around doing this and this and this, and we kind of get into this routine where we don't realize, but how we do one thing is how we do most things in our life. And if you're self-aware and you know what's going on and you can pay attention to your thoughts, it can really change everything. And if you act with kind and compassion to yourself, love and understanding, why is it that we do it for everyone else? Even maybe like the postman that's delivering all your parcels that you've bought all this stuff on eBay or Amazon, and he or she turns up at your house, and you show them kind and compassion, you're really nice to them. Like, why do we treat total strangers like that, but not ourselves? And we really need to let go of this. There's a right way or a wrong way to do something. We need to be perfect. And there's, perfectionism expectations that we need to be perfect. And there's no such thing. And there's a need for certainty. We're all wired that we really need to know what's going on, and we just need to be certain about stuff. And yeah, that was another thing for me that was really interesting. And taking care of yourself every day is a priority. That's just, so important, because what we're doing is we're creating lives that are fitting in for other people rather than what's authentic to ourselves. And what I found with this was we all have basic needs, that we all want to be loved and liked. We want to be accepted. We want to be seen as worthy, and we want to be seen as that we're enough. And a lot of that comes from, I talk about caveman days, back in the day. And if you have worked with me before, and if you're a student, if you're a client of mine in my studio, or if you've done an online course or anything, you will hear me quite often. I refer to, caveman days and stuff. And we talk about this, and this really changed how I thought about things a lot. So you think about it, that the reason why we have these basic needs, I'll say them again, to be loved and liked, to be accepted, to be seen as enough, and to be seen as worthy. And the reason why we have these basic needs is because in caveman days, when we're all cruising around and we were walking around looking for food in our tribes and all that kind of stuff, what happened was we were in big groups, and in big groups we were safe. We all had our certain tasks that we had to do, and we were safe, we were protected. And what happens if we didn't fit into that tribe, or we did something that was a bit different? There could be a chance that we could have got kicked out of the tribe. And what happened then, back in those days, if, say, Maisie's next to me, so I'm going to use my dog as an example, but imagine if her and I were walking through in caveman days, and then I decided that I wanted to go that way. I didn't want to go that way. There's too many hills that way, or it was too much scrub or bush, and I was like, no, I want to go the other way. So what happens is, if I went the other way, what's going to happen? I'll get kicked out of the tribe because I'm not following everyone else. But also, I'm in danger of being eaten by a tiger, by something that's out there. I don't have that protection. So we are hardwired to be in a tribe and to be in a group for these basic needs. And if we're not accepted and liked by everyone, and in that tribe, if we go and do something else, our body thinks we're in danger, and our body thinks, I'm going to get eaten by the tiger or whatever. And it still thinks that now. So you know how we always want to get validation of everyone and we want everyone to like us? And it's annoying sometimes, isn't it? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm an adult. Why do I care so much about this person who I don't even know, or this person who I don't even like? I want them to like me. I'll bend over backwards for them to like me. And you don't know why. Well, here's why. It's because we've been created to be in tribes, to be in groups. And if we aren't accepted, we aren't validated, we aren't loved or liked or accepted or seen as being enough or seen as being worthy, our body automatically, subconsciously, without us knowing, oh, red alert, something's going to happen. And when I found this out, I was like, oh man, this makes total sense. So, yeah, have a think about that for a second. But it just all makes sense. Let me have a look at my journal, see what else I've got here for you guys. So, there's another interesting thing too here, is when I was talking about the negative thoughts and everything, how many times in a day, even today or tomorrow, think about this. Notice your own rules. I should, I must, I have to. If I don't do X, then Y will happen. How many times do you think like that, or do you talk like that? And when you're aware of it, you can actually catch yourself. I didn't realize how many times I heard myself saying I have to or I should. That they were the two common ones for me that I just kept saying out loud, but also internally as well when I was thinking of doing my checklist for the day. But if we're not aware of what we're currently thinking or what we're doing, we can't get the desired outcome, and we are always going to feel stuck. And we have about 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and that's a lot, isn't it? And we're hardwired negative. Again, another thing, I was like, are you kidding me? So you could do all the work on yourself, and you can do all the therapy stuff, or go see the trainer, or go see the nutritionist, or whatever you personally are working on right now. And it's great that we reach out and ask for help from experts and stuff. And that's how we build our communities. And that's what life is all about. It's such an amazing thing. But I want you to remember too that we are built a certain way, that we have 60 to 80 thoughts a day. And look, I don't know the rough numbers, but just say as a guesstimate, about 80 to 90% of those thoughts per day are negative. So it's kind of like, wow, that's just hardwired into our body already. Then on top of that, 95% of our day is on autopilot. If you think about that for a second, 95% of our day, we kind of, have you ever been driving somewhere and then you get there and you go, oh my God, how did I get here? Or, that's never a good thing, is it, when you're driving and you think that? But think of, can you believe that we have up to 80,000 thoughts a day? I mean, I know my mind races 100 miles an hour, and I'm sure yours does too. And the majority of that's all negative. All the time, no matter how much of this work you do on yourself and you learn about yourself and all that stuff, it's just in the background, it's happening out back. It's just trucking along. So we've got these things kind of, I read a book once, and this guy was talking about ants, and they're called automatic negative thinking styles. It was just so interesting, and he explained it really well. He was like, you think of ants, it sounds a bit gross, but he says, think of ants, because that's what it is. Ant stands for automatic negative thinking styles. That these little ants are in your brain, and they're running around, and they're kind of planting all these automatic negative thinking styles, all or nothing thinking, mind reading, generalizing, jumping to negative conclusions, and catastrophizing. And I was like, oh yeah, I do all of those. I used to do all of those. And yeah, isn't that interesting? And there's a guy that I follow called Craig Harper, and if you listen to podcasts, check him out. He's got a podcast called The You Project, and I've listened to him since I've moved to Australia. So I'd say that's for about 5 years. And yeah, I really like him. He's an ex-personal trainer and gym owner, really successful. I wouldn't want to say like a motivational speaker, but he's someone like that. And I really like his, I guess, his work ethic, or, what he kind of stands for and what he's all about. And there was something in there, I did a course with him a couple of years ago, and in that course he explained something, and I actually used this with some of my clients. I want to share this with you today. And I always am really big on, if I find something that's not mine, I'll always say it's not mine and share, because that's how I work. So this guy's called Craig Harper, so definitely check him out if you haven't heard of him, or you want to know a bit more about him. So what I do with my clients in studio, and what I'll get you to do now, is if you've got a pen and paper handy, or in your mind, like where you might be driving listening to this or something, but think about some people I've heard call it like a foundation, some people call it like a blueprint or a plan. So like before you build a house, you have a plan, right? I quite liked how Craig Harper says it. He says it as an operating system. So what is your operating system when it comes to your mind and your body and where you're going in life? And he said, draw a triangle. So imagine or draw a triangle, and you divide it into 5 bits. So the bottom part down the bottom is kind of all your emotions and your psychology and just how you think and all that kind of stuff. So that's the bottom part. So you write that down the bottom. The next little chunk of your triangle or your pyramid says exercise. Then your next chunk is nutrition. Then your next one is lifestyle and sleep. And the top one is the result or the outcome. And the result or the outcome at the top breaks off into how you look, how you feel, and how you function. And they explain the results that you get. And it could just be getting in shape, losing weight, being healthier, all that kind of stuff. So you've got all of these factors, and all of these factors go into your result or your outcome, which is your new operating system. Now, I don't know about you, but anytime I've thought about, I'd like to really be healthier or move my body more or lose weight or sleep better or feel better, I've only focused on one of those things. Usually it's movement, usually it's food. Nothing else has really come into play. But it is really true. When you're looking at a new operating system or looking at a new plan, you actually need to look at everything at once. You can do little bits at a time and build on it. And that's why I like his reasoning that he's got a pyramid and he builds on it. So you've got your emotions and your exercise, your nutrition, your sleep, your lifestyle, the result and outcome. It really resonates with me because it's all about the mind-body connection. But yeah, I just really liked it, how he explained it in that way. Because, look, guys, at the end of the day, I know, there's a bit of a big sigh, I can see your pain and I can feel your pain and I get you. I just know what it's like. Your body has changed, and it may have changed in the last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and it's going to continue to do so. And I just want you to really start listening to your body and what it needs. We're just so busy looking for the thing that's going to help us that we really don't listen to ourselves. We're looking outwards for all these people to help us, which is great sometimes, but also I want you to learn what your body is actually saying. So I'm going to dig into the journal and see what else I've got here to share with you. But, right now we've all got a story, and with an expectation that kind of has like a set of beliefs. And when you've tried something a whole bunch of times, I don't know about you, but I've tried things many, many times. And that point where you've tried something, it may be exercise-wise, like I said, it may be your food, it may be mindset-wise, maybe something else. And you're sitting here now listening to this podcast and you're just like, man, I'm not in my ideal body, or I'm not, in my ideal health state, or how my body functions or moves, or I can't perform the way that I want to. And it's not about vanity or ego, or it's about your health and your wellness and just feeling good about yourself. And I think one of the challenges that we have is, the first thing is, we've done this many, many times, the history of stopping and starting and stopping and starting, and you're just like, oh my God, I can't do it again. But at the same time, because we've done it so many times, when you really want to get to the point, we all get to a point where, and I get contacted a lot, when unfortunately something not great happens, or, you know, you hit that wall and you go, can't do it anymore, I'm done. How many of you guys, as you're listening to this, raise your hand if that's been you? You've got to a point in your life where you're like, no, can't do it. I literally can't do it anymore. I'm done. And like I said, the biggest challenge for us is not what's possible for your body, but rather what you think is possible. Because a lot of the time we've done things over and over again, and we're just sick and tired of looking for the answer, or going to someone, or paying the money. And I don't know if whether you realise you do it or not, but you listen to your words, listen to what's going on in your head as well, because 9 times out of 10 when we do the new thing, or we decide to make all these contracts and rules, there'll be a get out of jail clause in there that you've put in there. They'll be like, oh, I can do it, but I'll give this a go, but I've got this thing. There's no quick fix. There's no miracle powder or pill, you know, and it's just, I think the missing link for me, and the missing link for a lot of us, is our mind-body connection, that we don't trust ourselves. We are too busy looking for the thing that's going to help us. But the thing is, when we find something, we don't give it a good go. And we've already decided on a subconscious level that, it's too hard, we'll just give it up. I'm no good at this, I can't keep doing it. And we're just really sick of trying something new. And so our behaviour doesn't change. And when really, the answers are all within us. We actually have to trust ourselves and learn about ourselves before we do anything else. So it's one way that I want to share with you before I wrap up today is begin a diary or a journal for the next 60 days. And it's really important to do this because this is a great way to work out how you're doing things, get your self-awareness out there and see how you can change. So for the next 60 days, write down the time that you wake up and the time you go to bed, the meals you eat, the drinks you have, the movement you make, and your moods. Then from that, you can go from there. It's just an awesome starting point, and it just helps you with everything. But there's so many people out there, like pills and potions and stuff, and you just need to change, from the inside out. We all want an instant gratification. Whether it's eating shit food and feeling good, lying and making excuses to ourselves, or instant gratification as in we want the results like quick, I'm snapping my fingers, like quick. And we genuinely, hand on heart, are just not ready to do the work. Like we all want to look a certain way, or we want to feel a certain way, or we want to have health, but when we're really honest with ourselves, guys, just be honest with yourself for 2 seconds. Stop, take a breath. What are you really looking for? What do you really want? And what are you willing to do to have what you want? Will you actually really do the work and stop looking for the easy fix? It's interesting when we stop and ask ourselves those questions, eh? Do I want to actually change? Will I do the work? And it's like, will this actually work this time? And the thing is, if you let go of all the excuses and the explaining and the rationalizing with yourself and step into discomfort, it's going to be hard. It's going to be unfamiliar. Oh my God, it's hard. And, but the thing is, it's, you don't need willpower. You don't need discipline. You don't need self-control. It's not about how you look. And it's about creating that new operating system, or creating that default button, or what was the other one? Like a foundation plan or something like that. It's all about creating that, and that's what you fall back on. You don't need motivation or anything like that, but you really need to have the conversation with yourself. What do I need to change? Do I actually want to do the work? And what if I actually do it this time? Like there's non-negotiables. I'm actually just going to do it. And if you don't give yourself an out, you can do it. You're capable of doing anything that you want. So stop holding yourself back from doing what you want to do. We're all human, and we all have urges and and we want to do things. So that's fine. You're not going to have good days all the time, and you're not going to be able to stick to everything 100%. But if you do it most of the time and you're aware of what you do, you can change things. So you've got control, and you can control all of it. Our body is always telling us something. So that's why that journal is great, just to start off by writing those things down and being conscious of what we're doing. This is a trial and error. So what works for me may not work for you. And what works for you may not work for your partner or your husband or your wife or whoever. And that's the thing, is it's just trial and error and trying something. But no, your body is always telling you something. So that's what I just wanted to share with you. Some little notes from my journals of little bits and pieces that I have, that's really helped me along the way. And I've just found one more thing. And these are like you should see my little notes, guys. But you've got to trust yourself and just know that you know more than what you think you do. And I want you to, if we're going to talk about trust for a minute, it's interesting that we trust others, but most of the time we don't trust ourselves. And self-doubt comes from lack of confidence. And lack of confidence comes from if we're disconnected from ourselves, which most of us are. Anything that we've done in the past that we think is a mistake or a failure. Lack of confidence can come from when we're kids, or when we've just unhelpful limiting beliefs, or new challenges, or when we compare ourselves to others, or with fear. And the opposite of self-doubt is learning to trust yourself, your values, and have your own back. What areas in your life do you trust yourself in? Have a think about it. What areas do you not trust yourself? And it's just, be aware of your thoughts. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, be aware of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. And to trust yourself, do you listen to your gut? Do you listen to your intuition? Do you listen to your mind, heart, and body? And do you remind yourself that if you do make one bad choice, because often we can make a not great choice, does it mean that you've actually failed? And do you make decisions for yourself, or do you wait for others and let them make it for you? And the last thing I want to leave with you guys today is self-compassion leads to self-care. So I hope this was helpful, guys. It was just a few things that I thought that you would like to know. And I hope this helps you on your self-care journey wherever you're at. And much love, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback. So guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbarathomson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you, and I'll catch you soon. Bye!